Boys, it is finally here, the G update. You guys got to see the wonderful pack opening, by far the biggest pack opening I've done for Zero so far. But today, of course, we've spent a whole day now with G and Zero. Luckily, the servers didn't explode or anything. They've done a little maintenance here and there, but everything else seems fine. But today, we're going to be actually talking about all the changes that have happened in Vanguard Zero as of the G era coming into the game. This is something that will probably go into effect in global in 2 or 3 months, but for you guys I hope it's 3 because I think you could really use that time to save your gems. Please take that to heart. So, we're going to talk about every single change. I hope I don't forget anything. I went through a list earlier and made sure that everything is there, but there is a lot to talk about. So, we're going to be covering everything, and this might be a pretty long video because of that, so let's just go through it, right? First thing that you'll notice, of course, is that the UI and the music are completely different. Like, you can hear how beautiful the BGM is. I can literally listen to this, like, in the background. I can actually have a game on in the background and not want to mute it, and that is absolutely fantastic. It's not just the home screen, like your My Room has a different BGM, your team menu has a different BGM, the fights have different BGM, the story has different BGM, the friendly fights has different BGM, like everything has different music, and the UI is completely different, as you can already see from here, right? But if I press something like the, Fighters Quests, which is your dailies, you'll already see that, the menus and everything just have this beautiful touch, right? Everything just looks a little bit nicer, the buttons look a little bit cleaner. The white on the kind of like reddish pink looks very much like my channel colors, actually. Just beautiful. Everything looks super, super clean, and so we like that a lot. So of course, that's a huge change here in general. And unfortunately, they removed the live 2D, which is like the little character animations they would do, which sometimes would look a little bit uncanny, but luckily, they let you customize the screens pretty well in terms of what you want to see on every single, screen, right? So this is the home screen, right, where you can choose any background you want, and you unlock some of these backgrounds through the character fight missions, which is something we'll talk about later. But you can change it. For example, this is the fight screen, this is the card screen, and this is the shop screen. So you can change it to whatever background you want, any character you want as well. And you unlock the other characters as well through doing the actual, you can see here I have to clear Shion's character story episode 5 to unlock him for the home screen, so you can just change that as you wish. And so it's a pretty nice little customizable, which of course we like a lot. So that is basically the big change there. Then they changed the VP rewards. Now, I keep in mind that the VP rewards between Global and JP were always different, because you guys in Global apparently have been getting gems this whole time. We never had gems in JP in the VP rewards, so keep that in mind when we go through this. So let's just talk about it, right? So you notice that the My Room and the premium coins are still there, of course. The generic crafting currency, suddenly this will be your new best friend. Generic crafting currency is your new best friend, so stop using rental decks, because I don't even know if you even can still, but just keep that in mind. I'll talk about why later. You get 2 PG medals, buy 50k VP, but unfortunately you can't use these for the new G era perfect guards, which give you a counter charge. So that's a bit unfortunate, but you can still get clan materials out of these, I guess, so it's fine. Then they still give you the generic old tickets, because of course for the new players you will still need to get some of the old cards, like if you want to play Starvaders in G, which gets support later on with the Chaos Strides, you're going to need the old Chaoses, right? So of course you're still going to want to open some of those old packs to get that kind of stuff. But they added the G packs, but keep in mind that these are not generic packs, but these are specifically the set that is currently out. This is the G set 1 packs, not generic packs that span all of G. So what this probably means that every single month, this VP reward will change to the current set, essentially. And that is both a nice thing because it matches the way that all the other digital card games work, like Shadowverse and Hearthstone, but it's also a little bit unfortunate because that means you can't save up packs for the next set. You can only save gems, which is, like I said, save your gems. So you get quite a few. You also, the generic materials are probably the most important thing. And you can see here that going into the 1 million, you get more generic materials, get more of these packs here and there. You get 10 of the current set packs for 1 million VP. And then if you go until 2 million VP in JP, again, keep in mind this was always limited to 2 million in JP. You get more of the current set packs. So yeah, that's the VP changes. I think they're actually quite big and so worth talking about. Next is the G grade changes. So the G grade is that you essentially now have different dailies. So if I look at the daily missions, the only daily missions you have per day are your login for stamina. Again, we've always had 35 stamina in JP. I know this is different in global, but we always had 35 stamina in JP. This is not different, but there's no like do a rank fight, there's no like someone's my room. None of those quests are there anymore, and instead they are in the fighters quests. And every single day when you log in after the daily reset, you get 3 fighters quests, which can be completely random, right? They span from like do a friend fight to like do a rank fight or a casual fight with a Dark States clan, or sorry, a Dark Zone clan or a United Sanctuary clan. Or they say stuff like, you know, there'll be an NPC that goes like, give me 30 like rare materials for Kagero and I'll give you, you know, this currency, which we'll talk about later, you know, and things like that, right? So you do those G grade quests, and then you raise the FP, so that when this, you know, goes to 100, or when it caps out, basically you get gems. You get 50 gems, which is pretty cool, and on top of that your G grade goes up, which then gives you rewards. And you get rewards such as like here, basically when you got G grade 3 you got a PG for gears, G grade 4 got a PG for gears, G grade 5 you got a free chrono jet and things like that. So you get a bunch of nice things from doing the G grade, and I'm assuming they're going to add new G grades every single month with more prizes. Hopefully they keep giving us like PGs and of course the actual, you know, the triple rares and stuff like that. And also when you do G grade up, your stamina is restored, and it also goes up by a bit, just like the fighters grade did in the old Card Capital 2. They still have the old level system in the old Card Capital, but just keep that in mind. And then the very important thing is that once you've done your 3 dailies, you can click this, which is to get 3 new quests. And you can do this, I believe, 3 times per day, if I'm not mistaken, which costs 30 stamina. So you use 30 stamina to get 3 new quests, which will then give you, again, more FP, which will give you more gems, and of course will give you more of this currency, which we'll talk about later. So you can do that 3 times, and on top of that, there's also a button on the quests, which lets you change the quest up to, I think, 3 times per day as well. And basically what happens there is like, if you don't like a quest, like let's say there's like a like someone's my room quest, or let's say it's like play ranked game with United Sanctuary, you don't have any United Sanctuary decks, you can just exchange it, but it will be free, I think 3 times, and after that it costs, I think, a little bit of stamina, I think like 5 or something like that. Sadly, I already cleared my dailies for today, so I don't remember, but maybe somebody in chat can tell us. And so that's basically your dailies, right? And then the daily for gems now says like you have to do 3 fighters quests in a day to get the 30 gems from the daily. That's basically how it is. So yeah, changing a quest is 5 stamina. Thank you, you. So yeah, there's that one, and that's basically how the quest menu now works. And so what is this medal, right? What is this medal that you can cap at 2,000? I've already finished 2,000, now I'm on my next 250. Well, this allows you to exchange for packs, basically. So you can exchange for a maximum of 5 of the current set packs. So this is the current, Generation Stride pack, and then you can exchange with 1,000 of these for the regular old gacha tickets from the older sets, and then otherwise you can exchange for the skip tickets, which are used in the tower events. And actually here it says this is used in various events, so maybe this will be incorporated into something else, we'll see. But it sounds like the tower events are a mainstay, which is definitely pretty nice as well. So that's the material you get from doing the dailies, which is quite nice because it's a bonus to, like, you're getting gems from your grade going up, and you're also getting gems from doing dailies. So it is pretty nice. We also get some packs as well on top of that. Alright, so that's it for the quests. Now let's take a look at the character fights. So these also changed quite a lot, because now you get way more drops that are actually confirmed. The limit on the very hard and hard is still 5 per day per character, but you get quite a few things, right? So first things first, take a look at Chrono here, which is Gear Chronicle. So you have a limit of 5 of the actual, very hards and hards per day. Once you fight them once, you unlock a quick fight. So there's no more of the shenanigans of like, beat this character without taking more than 4 damage and blah, 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 blah. Now you just fight them and beat them once, and you get quick fight immediately, and you don't have to go with easy, hard, very hard. You can start straight from very hard and like go into it immediately. You don't have to do any of that. But you'll notice that there's this interesting key over here. Like, you see this little key? Like, what is this, right? So this key is actually a drop from the character fights. So I can actually show you, just do a quick we can just do one quick fight of easy, right? You also notice there's no normal anymore for the G era ones, but there is normal for the old card capital. So if you go here, and let's say we do a quick one, right? Look how many materials you suddenly get. So much more than we used to, which is really, really nice. Definitely much appreciated. And of course, we get these keys as well. So these keys, this is specifically Chronos key, which you can see by the gears in the middle here. These are called story keys. So let's take a look at what these story keys actually are. You'll notice when we click on a character, here you have the fights, but here you have a button called story. So story lets you basically read basically like a story about that character. It's like a bonus arc basically that wasn't in the anime, and by clearing it you get 50 gems every time, which is really nice, and some other goodies. For example, this one gave you sleeves, this one gave you a background to use in the menus, this one also gave you sleeves. Then I think there's one on the 5 that gives you packs, which is also very, very nice. And you'll see here, you know, I've cleared some of these, but let's say if I want to do the next one, I need 60 story keys, and you can see that I have 50 here. So I need to keep grinding these character fights for Chrono to actually unlock this in its entirety, and it caps at 60. You get an emblem and stuff like that. And now the rewards aren't the same for every character either. Like for example, for Shion, you'll notice that we have, you know, sleeves, and then on episode 5, instead of packs, you get him as a home skin character, which is pretty nice, right? So that's basically how it is. And then for Mamoru, it's also the same. You can see here that it's the same. So these are the costs for the episode 1. It's 10 story keys, then 20, then 30, then 60, then 80, and then 100. So that's how it works. And I assume that with every single like character that gets added, they'll basically do the same thing, which I think is pretty cool. So that is also quite nice. And of course here they always show you how many of the clan materials you have, as well as your generic materials that you use to craft GRs. And yeah, as you'll notice, like they removed normals, but normals are still there in the old card capital, and they also give buff drops. Like normals are very good, so if you have too much stamina and want to dunk them into something, you can do that. And of course, like these, like the very hards and hards, even in the old card capital, also have buffed drops, which is really, really nice, because now like your approach to like getting cards has changed quite a lot because of the addition of GRs, which we'll talk about in a second. So I think that wraps it up for the character fights. Now let's take a look at the story stuff, because I think the story also changed quite a lot with how things go there as well. Alright, up next, let's take a look at the story. So this one is pretty straightforward, but I think the changes are still pretty massive, because the changes they made is that there is no more hard mode for the stories. You can still do hard mode of the old stories, of course, but you'll notice here that there's no difficulty toggling, and that's basically it, right? You just go through this, and that's it. And what you get from doing the story is, of course, the generic materials that you have. Sorry, not the generic materials. You get the materials that you get from the dailies, right? So you can use these for the actual, you know, redeeming your packs and stuff like that. But every time you clear a story, you know, story like turn, I guess, of a chapter, you will always get one pack, which is also very, very nice, because of course we like packs, but it gives packs of the existing set. Like it gave packs of the first G set, and I wonder if when they update the story, because we've cleared all the story so far, if they will actually like do the packs of that next set, or if they completely update everything to that existing one. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. And one thing that I really, really like about the stories now is that when you pull up the actual like turn, it has this really beautiful visual for the fights. And so basically, if you want to just like fight against the characters, you know, for example, you can fight against, you know, the high schooler Kamui to see the victor cards, which might come out in the next set, who knows. You can also fight against, for example, Tsunato here, who uses Susanoo. So if you want to check out Susanoo, you can do that here, which is really nice. You can fight against Kumi, for example, here as well, and she uses Battle Sisters, and she has some of the new G-era Battle Sisters too. So like this UI change is so beautiful. Like the music, the UI, everything about it looks super clean. And so those are the story changes. And also, if you have any like questions on your G grade quests, because obviously these are in Japanese, if you're playing Vanguard Zero JP, you can always join my Discord and go to the Zero JP section and just like screenshot your quests and ask someone. There's quite a few Japanese speakers in the Discord, so they'll be able to help you out usually. So don't worry about that too much. So now let's switch to the fight screen. And this is where some things change as well. So the fundamentals are still the same. Rank fights still work the exact same way. Friend fights also work the same way. Like nothing has changed about friend fights, just that the UI is different and it's very beautiful. And the music also, if we make a quick friend fight room here, has changed quite a lot. And it does sound very, very cool. So you can see here that it's the actual, I believe this is Kamui's theme from G, so it's pretty nice, you know, that they added that just like that. So this is the friend fights. Again, you'll be in the screen sometimes just because this is, you know, like a lot of dailies ask you to do friend fights, and you might re-roll those, you might not, it's up to you. But other than that, friend fights haven't changed at all. They're pretty straightforward. It's the same stuff, but just the music has changed, which is obviously very nice. So now the thing that did change is, one thing is the rewards for every legend have slightly adjusted, and also they removed tournament mode. Like, tournament mode is straight up just gone. It's no longer there, just straight up gone. But they have changed the rewards for ranking up. So of course, oh here, this is the top 1000 one, so we can actually get out of here. My bad. The one I actually wanted to take a look at is the season prizes. So of course, seasons are still 2 weeks, and here you can see that you still get, like, you know, 50 gems, and then here when you get the sleeves from Legend 3, you get the V coupons, because they nuked tournament mode in order to include the casual queue, and so now you can still get V coupons through ranked, which is quite nice. And you see here we still get like 50, 100, 50, 50, 50, 50, then 100 together with your rank reward, which is quite nice. And then Legend 11 gives you 10 V coupons, right? So you get a few V coupons here and there, which is like, it's fine, but you still get a lot of gems from playing ranked, which is of course very good. And this is the casual queue, the icon with Kami on it, which lets you basically choose if you want to play against AI, if you want to just play against CPUs. This says you prioritize players, so it might match you against an AI if it doesn't find any players to play against. And then this option says he will only match you against other players, other IRL actual players. So if you want to test out some wacky deck builds and you don't want to ruin your win streak in ranked, use this option and it will match you with other players that are using that same option, which is very, very cool. And then of course for ranked, I mean, we're going to show some clips of the gameplay a bit later, but the gameplay itself, thanks to new BGM and everything, is just super, super clean. So that's something we'll take a look at a bit later. All right, so then let's take a look at the card menu, which also has changed quite a lot. No, rank banners did not change. They are the same as before, which is kind of surprising actually. I expected them to change. But the one new addition here on the card menu is the monthly deck missions. So these monthly deck missions, they're a bit, I don't know, they give you a few free gems, but they feel a bit more like incentive for whales, to be honest, because essentially they look at how much of us, let's say like they have an example Gear Chronicle deck here, right? So this is like Game Studio's own example of what a Gear Chronicle deck can look like. I don't agree with how this should look like, but you know, some cards are correct, some aren't. But this basically says like, once you get these cards, they become colored in. So when you get the cards, they become ungrayed out, they become colored, and basically this gauge fills up over time. So once you hit 50%, it gives you 50 gems. And once you have completed, you know, 100%, gotten all the cards in this deck mission deck list, you get 100 gems. So it's cool that you get basically like 450 gems from just like building decks, but it's like a free bonus. It's basically like a free bonus. It is pretty cool that it exists, but of course, the people, you know, these decks require like 6 GRs at times, right? Which is, as you already figured out, this one requires 7 even. Jesus Christ, man, look at this. This one I think requires 6. This one's also 7. Jesus Christ, man. I think this one, is this one also 7? No, this one's 6. Okay. Gear Chronicle confirmed the least pay to win. But yeah, you can look at the deck list, and of course you get free gems from it as well, which is a cool little bonus, so we'll definitely take that. But of course, when it comes to the card menu, the thing that changed most, of course, deck building and crafting. So now let's get into the big, this one might take a while. Let's talk about crafting. Alright, so you'll notice that some things already changed, because the grades go up to G and triggers, and you'll notice that your generic materials are also displayed here at the bottom too, which is definitely very cool. Now the first thing that you'll notice is that the search has also gotten a bit better, which is really, really nice. You can now search by series, so whether the original Vanguard series or the G series, so let's do G, and when you select G, you can filter by set, so you can choose promo cards, or this is the first booster set, so I'm assuming they'll update this as we go. So let's just look at the G cards, right? So these are all the new cards. Of course, I've already finished all my decks, right, from the packs that we opened, but the important thing to know about the new cards is, of course, they look visually different. So now they have like different borders and stuff like that. You notice when you ride them in game, they have a different animation and a sound and everything. But when you disenchant them, they don't give clan materials anymore, and instead they give you the GR materials, which are used to create your GRs. So let's say I want to dust this PG, I would get 40 for an SP of a double rare, right? Every SP of a double rare gives you 40, which is pretty nice. And then every SP of a common gives you 1, so just 1. So that's why like 500 of these generic materials convert to 1 1 generic material. Then if you want to dust a SP triple rare, you'll get 200. And if you get a dupe triple rare in, let's say like you pull, let's say like this Knight of Twin Sword, right? I pull a 5th copy now, I'll get 100 generic materials, right? And then for double rares, I think it's like 30 if I'm not mistaken, something like that. Somebody in chat can let me know as well. And then of course you can also get the GRs in SP2. So a GR to craft is 5,000 generic materials, and a lot of us really want Game Studio to reduce this because it feels kind of crazy, especially when crafting a SP GR is the same price, which really doesn't make that much sense. So this feels really expensive, and also they've made some GRs require persona flips, which means that you need 2 copies of them in your G-Zone to use them. But of course, when you dust an SP GR, you get 1,000 materials. So a 5th of a GR from getting, you know, from that actually getting that. And if you get a dupe GR, I believe you get 500 GR materials. So basically a 10th of a GR, which is kind of crazy. I feel like they really should reduce the GR cost to like 2,500 or like 2,000 or 3,000 like at most, because right now it does feel a little bit over the top. One nice thing though is that every single clan received these generic grade 0 heal triggers, and this in my opinion has made the game feel the most fun it's ever felt in the history of Vanguard Zero, because these heal triggers are cards you guard with. So they'd say that when your Vanguard is hit, if you would lose if you don't guard, you use this card from your hand as a 15k shield, and this is prioritized over your perfect guard. So if you have a PG in your hand and a heal in your hand, then you will actually use the heal first as a 15k shield, which is so nice, right? Having more defensive options in Vanguard has always been amazing, right? It's always been amazing, and that's why we really like that. When they came out with G guards in G, everyone liked that. When they released heal guardians in V, everyone liked that. When they released Blitz orders, everyone got excited about the potential of them, right? So obviously this is really cool, and they can also stack, which means that if you have 2 of them in hand and your opponent attacks you with, like, let's say 36,000 on your 11,000, you can drop 2 of them to go up to 43. So, I mean 41 rather. So that is very nice. This is by far the nicest addition, and every single clan gets these, and that's why I've been seeing a lot of stuff like Brawlers in ladder and Link Joker in ladder, because they just use these new heals to give themselves an advantage. On top of that, you also have generic shrines. You'll notice we have shrines for every clan, but there's also 2 generic shrines. One of them is Atmos, which is used in every single clan because it's a Kree elemental. When it attacks the Vanguard combos 1, gain 10k power, so if you need to actually hit for big numbers. And then you have this one, which is a vanilla, but it's also generic stride. So we've seen a lot of decks that don't have strides yet, you know, they're not Royals or Kagero or Gear Chronicle. It's decks like, let's say, Link Joker, right? They ride Infinite Zero, and then they stride onto it so that they can just like drive check, because obviously when you're on a stride, you check 3 cards, and you also draw a card from striding. And so you basically like farm up your cards, and then once your opponent pushes you to 4 damage, you break ride. You know, you break right into your Legion, and then you finish them off or whatever, or do your thing, right? So having the generic strides and the heals has made a lot of other decks that don't have their own G support yet feel still really good to play in ranked, and so everyone should play these, and you get 4 copies of the generic strides for free, which is also really cool. So that's very sweet. The other big addition is also triggers. So of course we talked about heal triggers, but they also added stand and critical triggers as grade 0s. So these critical triggers all do basically the same thing. They say on Rearguard Circle, when your Vanguard attacks, if it's a grade 3 or higher with the specific name of the main grade 3 in G of that clan. So in the case of Royal Paladin, is Altmile. In the case of Kagero, it's going to be Blade Master. In the case of Gear Chronicle, it's going to be Chronojet. So if you have, you know, when your Vanguard attacks, if it has that name and if it's a grade 3 or higher, you put the critical into your soul, so you get an extra soul, to draw 1 card, and for that battle gain 5k power on your Vanguard. So it lets you break through the heal guardians at times, and just in general have that really nice cycle, right? It gives you soul, gives you a draw, you draw into better cards, you draw into your PGs and all that stuff. It's a very nice addition. And then they also say in the trigger zone, when you damage check this, you draw 1. So it's a critical trigger, but if you get it defensively, it's a draw trigger, which is super sick. And this has made the game super exciting, because now, you know, it's that feeling of randomly checking a crit and like winning off of it, or like forcing out a PG, just just feel so good all of a sudden. And they also added stand triggers. So stand triggers, of course, are a pretty important thing in G because they usually have very good effects. And so, for example, the Kagero one here, it says GB1, which means when you have a stride face up somewhere, whether it's on your Vanguard circle or in your G zone, he says, when your opponent's rearguard is tied by your card ability, you can put it back to your deck and give one of your units plus 10k power. So, you know, these stands all have different abilities, and each clan basically got one. Royals have one, Kagero has one, and Gears have one. So they're probably going to keep adding these stand triggers to every single clan as we go on. And the thing is really cool. Sadly, there's not much space for them right now because you still want to be running like 5 grade 3s, because if you don't, you're running like 4 grade 3s, which can be a little yikes. But they did add these very nice generic grade 1s that count as grade 3s when you discard them for stride, that also say, when placed from hand on rearguard circle, discard any card in your hand to search your deck for a grade 3, in this case, Old File, and add it to your hand. So if you don't have a grade 3 in your hand, you can call this card and discard one and literally search out the grade 3 that you want, the specific grade 3 that you want, which like people were super worried about, like, oh, what if I don't find the right grade 3 to ride? What if I don't have a grade 3 to ride? Blah, blah, blah. This fixes that issue completely. And so it's really, really nice and a great addition overall. And then I've sadly killed all of my rare SPs for a solid reason, because you can destroy a rare SP for 4 generic materials. And when you get a dupe of a rare, you get 2 generic materials. So if you have more than 4, you basically get to do that. So now what people are thinking, obviously, is you need 5,000 generic materials to craft a GR, right? So that's super expensive. You need to open so many boxes in order to get that. And so what people are saying is that going forward, what you should probably be doing is crafting as much as possible of a set when it releases and then pulling. So you want to craft like all the commons, all the rares, the doubles, the triples, or like especially the triples, because a triple, when it comes as a dupe, if you have more than 4, gives you 100 generic materials. So you use your clan materials to basically craft all the triple rares and below, and then when you pull the packs, you get more generic materials, which lets you get more GRs, because then you can craft them more easily and you don't have to open as many boxes. Because you only have to open 2 boxes to get playsets of all the triple rares, and apparently if you do manage to craft like all the like triples and below for a, like, let's say 2 clans, and you open 2 boxes, I think it's estimated that you get about like 5,000 GR materials, which is enough for 1 GR. So that is pretty interesting, you know, how that works. People are still doing the math, and once it's done, we have the community member Fluffy, who's working on his own guide for gems and everything. I'll definitely be working on a video to explain that further, but that's to give you an early impression of it as well. An important thing to also keep in mind is that the GR materials are only generated by the new cards. So for example, if I want to take, let's say, go to Link Joker. I know I have like a bajillion photons, right? So let's go to Link Joker here and go to grade 2s. So we go to the grade 2s, right? And let's find our photon. So I have, let's say, 1 too many photons, right? I want to get rid of it. Only gives Link Joker materials. So don't get GR mats from this, but of course you can use them to make the triples of that, you know, of that clan when their G stuff releases, to then get GR materials. So man, the whole system has really changed a lot, and somehow triples are really easy to get now. Like, it's super easy to get triples and below, but it's the GRs that are huge, huge pain. And then of course the other big thing when it comes to this menu is the change in decks. Is that now the deck building is super different because of the addition of grade 0s and strides, right? So let me show you what I mean that by an example, right? We have a few example lists. For example, let's say my Dimension Police, right? Dimension Police doesn't have strides yet, but you can already change it quite a lot. So let me show you what I mean by that, right? If we pull up the Dimensional Robo here, you get to see this whole thing here, right? So you can see, you know, I still got my grade 3s and stuff, but ooh, look at this. My grade 0 triggers are part of my grade 3 lineup. So that's kind of how it is, right? So it takes up to 13, and then here I also can use the generic stride. So the G zone is 8 cards. It might go up later because in the TCG it goes up to 16 eventually, but hopefully in Zero does that too. But your grade 0 triggers take up your grade 3 slots, so keep that in mind when deck building. So that's what like a deck that doesn't have G support looks like. But if you want to take a look at something like Gear Chronicle, which does have G support, you can see I only run 5 grade 3s, and it's perfectly fine. Like, you still stride perfectly fine because you have these stride fodders that actually let you search out your Chrono Jet and actually count as grade 3s when you discard them for stride. And in general, like, you know, the deck building is very flexible, and for the strides as well, right? You can play a bunch of 1-ofs, you can play, you know, certain cards as 4-ofs or 2-ofs and things like that. Certain cards will be 4-ofs now in set 1, but they might go down, like, no, Ragnarok will go down to a 2-of of eventually. So you can think about, like, do you need a card 4 times in the long run? Do you really want to go for it right now? And things like that. So that's kind of what the deck building looks like right now. You know, we want to max out on like the criticals, max out on the heals, and blah 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 blah. So there is less draws actually, but it doesn't feel like the hands of the GR deck struggle at all by that. Like, the decks in G plus way more, and so running the crits doesn't really like feel like it's damaging, which is a nice feeling to have, to be honest. So that's basically how it is, right? And so yes, you do split your triggers. You still only have 13 triggers per deck, just like you always did, right? Still 13, but now they're split between 3s and 0s, which is very, very nice, and it makes deck building way more fun. So that's the important change when it comes to deck building. And also, all the clans in G get new perfect guards, which say that when you perfect guard with them, if you have another copy of that perfect guard in the drop zone, you countercharge 1. So that's what makes those super, super nice. All right, we still have a couple more things to talk about. First things first, we have the shop. So first thing you'll notice here is there's this G metal thing that you see. So the G metal is essentially this G skin metal, and you can get these through missions, which is quite nice, but you can also get them by buying them for actual money, which let you exchange for skins, basically the skins for the actual G era characters. I hope they keep giving these out from missions and like events and that kind of stuff, because I think that that is really, really important, you know, to keep giving us easy to obtain character skins for these G era, like actual characters, because there's a lot of people's favorites, right? There are a lot of people's favorites. So that's one change. After that, let's take a look at this, right? Let's go to the actual exchange menu, because this is where a lot of things are quite different. So we already talked about this menu. This is basically nothing new. The G skin medals, as I said, 1 medal equals 1 character, so you don't have to buy multiples. You can also exchange your generic materials for materials of the clans. So 100 GR mats equals 30 of a triple rare, and for the record, when you pull a dupe triple rare, you get 100. So it's basically the same as it was before G, in terms of like, if you pull the dupe triple, you get 30 triple rare mats, then 100 equals 125 double rare mats of a clan, and then 100 equals 1,000 rare pieces of a clan as well. I generally don't recommend trading for this, because you want to keep your GR mats for the GRs themselves, because they are very, very expensive, so keep that in mind. The nicest thing though is that you can exchange these useless little common spheres that you weren't really using for anything for GR materials. So let's, for example, say, look at this. I have over 1 million. I have over 1 million generic spheres. I could just dunk them into 2,100 generic materials, into the GR materials, right? So that is very nice. Like, obviously you want to keep some of these to craft your actual cards, because you still need them, but you get these from VP, you get these from doing character fights, you get these from a bunch of sources, right? So that's really cool, that you actually have a way to get GR materials without just pulling and crafting, right? So that is super, super nice, and we like that a lot. We really, really like that a lot. So I really hope that they keep, you know, I mean, obviously they're going to keep this, but just in general, it's a nice system. Let's just put it that way. Then, of course, all the old skins you can still get for your V medals. That hasn't changed. One really sad thing is that the new PGs I just spoke about, you can't exchange for them. They only let you exchange for the PGs that were before G, and I hope that they maybe, like, once a month passes, maybe add the PGs of, let's say, this set to this shop, because otherwise it's like, why would you give me PG medals anymore, right? Because it's like, huh? It's kind of weird, but I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I guess you can still like exchange these for the clan materials and then make cards and then get GR materials as a reward, I guess. Like, it's a weird cycle, but that's kind of how it works. And I think that's it for these things. And now, of course, it's time to talk about the updated gacha system, which is very, very different. This one is the biggest change, and if you've played Duel Links before, this will be a lot more familiar. So the way that the pack system works now is basically the way that it worked in Duel Links, or still works in Duel Links, in that you basically have to pull 4 cards in a box. A box has 150 packs, and in order to buy packs, you can use your gems, you can use your pack tickets, and it's the pack tickets of that specific set. So the way it works is that you get 1 of each GR per box, and you get 2 of each triple rare per box. Obviously, I've already opened some packs here, so it's not fully representative. So you get 1 of each GR, 2 of each triple rare, 4 of each double rare, and then you get between 8 and 9 of each rare, and then 20 of each common. So This is the most divisive part because you basically want to be like, you want to pull the GRs early and then reset the box. By clicking this button, you reset the box, it goes back to a fresh box with full ratios, and you can pull again and try to pull for that, you know, GR again. Why do I say that? That's because some GRs, like let's say Fate Rider, honestly, this is a GR that you only really need once. You need once, maybe twice maximum, to be honest. But then you have stuff like Saint Blow, which in my opinion is a 4 because this, you know, is a Persona Blast, it gets power, it gets a crit, and it also gives your rearguards a retire protection. Like, it does so much for you, right? And you know, stuff like a Blade you kind of want 2 copies of. Stuff like Root Flare you want 4 copies of, and things like that, you know? So it's like, you need quite a few copies of these, so sometimes you might want to go through 4 boxes. For the like triple rare strides, they come as 2 per box, so obviously you can just open 2 boxes and have all of them, and you can also craft them, which is very nice. Like double rares, you get a playset from 1 box already, so you'll be overflowing with materials from opening a bunch of boxes. But of course, you know, a lot of people have been saying this, both in the Japanese community and in the English community, that this doesn't feel very free-to-play friendly, and even for whales, it's a lot heavier. Like, this set is the most I've ever spent on Zero. Like, I'll be very open about that. I love G. It's by far my favorite arc in the entire history of the franchise to this day, even though it's gone through many more arcs after that. But, like, it's still pretty yikes if I have to think about doing that every single month. However, the big reason why, for example, I spent so much and opened so much is because we had no GR materials. So now I'm kind of looking at how many GRs materials I might have for the next set, and there I might actually have enough for 3 GRs. So then that might mean I might be able to skip a box, which is pretty cool. And so if I only have to open 3 boxes, that's kind of the same as what I used to open for the previous sets before G. So my also big tip again is, as you can see, you can use gems. Save your damn gems, because as you can see, your generic pack tickets cannot be used here. And the other big thing, let's open 2 packs, because I'm just opening these packs now just to get dupe GRs and stuff like that, and dupe triples for materials. But there's another big change when it comes to the packs, in order to make sure that the ratios stay the same, is that every single pack gives you 4 commons. The first 4 cards are always common, and the last 2 will then be something greater than that. So you'll see here, first 4, always common, and then you get rares and above, right? We get an SP rare, we're gonna shoot that. And then here, again, 4 rares, nothing, double rare, right? And now you'll see, you know, we go away from this, and the double rare converts into 20 materials, the rare dupes convert into 2 materials, and I can get rid of this rare SP dupe for 4 materials as well, and the commons all become 1 material. So you literally, like, you want to be opening the packs, like, just to get the materials, and on top of that, like, you only, like, throughout the month of a update, you will get packs, at least we don't know this for sure, but it seems like you'll just be getting packs of that specific set of the month, the way that they do in Shadowverse, for example. And so you'll want to be opening the set throughout the month, so maybe don't rush to open everything in one day, and instead just kind of like pace yourselves out throughout the entire month. Also, a lot of people are saying, like, you should probably focus on like 1 or 2 clans at most, because otherwise, like, if you're trying to build everything, you will have to go through so many packs, right? Because let's say you open your first 10 packs and you're, let's say, a Gear Chronicle player, right? And you get Ragnarok, which you need 4 times right now. It'll go down to 2 eventually, but for now you need it 4 times. It's like, great, you got your Ragnarok, but you don't care about all these other things, and Fate Rider you only need once, so you just reset the box. Reset the box, even if you didn't pull any of the triple rares, because in the next box, you might have to open the whole 150, and then you'll get your 2 Chrono Jets there, you'll get your Chronos commands there, etc, etc, etc. So that is something to keep in mind. Like, think about the clans, like, if you're free to play, think about which clans you like the most, and just stick to them, right? Just stick to them, and like, if you're a whale and you're like me and you want to play every single deck and you want to make content, etc, then obviously that's a different story. I will also, again, as I said earlier, do a gem guide for this update, because I think it's so different and I think you guys could use it. But we have Mr. Fluffy still working things out, so you'll get an update on that once it's actually ready. Again, it seems like there's no more generic packs, and much like games like Hearthstone and Shadowverse, throughout the month or 2 months or 3 months of a set's release, you get the packs of that set, and then they basically rotate them for the next set when the next month comes around. So that's something to keep in mind. The gacha system has changed a lot. There's no like rates and stuff. It does feel like you pull good stuff a lot more because there's so many triples to pull, right? Every single box has like nothing but triples everywhere, and there's so many doubles, blah blah blah. But again, keep that in mind. And also, if you ever want to open the old sets, you just click this button and switch on over. You have the actual booster sets here, so you can see it goes throughout the history of the game. And then here you have the clan gachas, and when you select it, like for example the Royals one, you just literally go to the old summoning screen with no box resets or anything. You know, this is everyone's favorite familiar screen where you use your generic tickets here, which I still recommend you use because here you get your clan material that you can use then to craft the cards, which is also very nice. So I'm going to be holding on to these until we find out which clans are in set 2, and then just like dunk them into that and make a bunch of crafting materials for my dupes, and then be able to craft all the cards of the next set when it comes around. So what do I think of the box changes and like the gacha change? I think it's still better because the crafting exists, and I think that over time you will get a lot of the actual materials throughout the month, and then you'll be able to use that for the next set, and then the opening will be a little bit less painful because you will have to go through less boxes and stuff like that. I just really hope that they don't do persona flipping GRs. Like, they must have learned a lesson from the TCG that that's not a good idea, but we'll see. The Japanese side is giving them a lot of shit for that, so hopefully they are, you know, they stay heated enough that Game Studio has to respond and stop doing G persona flipping GRs, because that is very problematic. And please also reduce GRs to like 3,000 or 2,500, because it's just weird that the GR cost is the same as the Stride, like the SP GR cost as well. Alright, so up next is basically what I want to talk about is the fights themselves. So I'll just quickly talk about this now, and I'll show a bunch of, you know, visuals after this. But basically the fights are way smoother. The whole game just feels smoother after this update somehow. The music is so damn good. Like, all the OST in the game is super nice now. The gameplay, in my opinion, is peak because there's more defensive options, which always feels good. And even the clans that don't have their like G support yet still feel super good, so I think that's also very nice. And in general, like, the game just feels way more like advanced and technical now, which is the best part about G, right? It rewards good players more, and it's less sacky, so of course that's really good. New decks feel strong but not overpowering. The new cards of course have all the different borders. The animations are super clean. I'll show that after this, you know, for Chronojet and Altmile and Blade Master, super sick. And of course the stride animation is also very nice. And that's basically it for the fights. Like, they feel super good. I can literally play the game way more, and it just like feels very satisfying to play overall, so I do like that very much. There are still a few questions we have. Of course, it's only day 2 of the update, so a lot of things are still kind of unclear, like, where are clan events? Are they coming back? Have they killed them for good? I hope so. I don't want to see Neo Nectar as a clan event because obviously it's a main character, so that'd be kind of awkward if it's not. And then it's like, how many clans will there be per set? Are they sticking with the 3 from now on and, you know, making it so that every clan gets 2 GRs? I don't know if that's a good idea. It'd be so much better if it was only like 3 or 4 GRs per box, but there was 2 of each per box, right? Because then it's a much easier way to actually like craft everything and get all your cards and stuff like that. So I think that would be a much better thing. And of course, please stop making persona flipping GRs and decrease the cost of GR crafting too. That would be fantastic. But anyway, I think that covers all of this. So you can watch some gameplay now of the actual, like, you know, what the animations look like and all that kind of stuff, because I think it just looks super sick. So enjoy that. But other than that, that's basically it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you like the content, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. So here you can see how beautiful like the music is and the ride animations. Oh my god. Like, it just literally pops. Like, it's so beautiful. All new cards have this kind of ride animation. It is simply beautiful. And also, one thing you'll notice on the fight screen is you can check your strides, and it says the GB count at the bottom. So after you stride, it is colored in and it will say like GB1 or GB2, etc. And here you can listen to the music that plays on the opponent's phase, which is also really nice. So you have a different music between yourself, like your turn, and your opponent, just like you would in the normal you know, Card Capital 1 world. So really nice. And so of course it goes back to your turn, and then again you ride up. Just beautiful. Everything looks super sick. And then here is what I mean by the animations being way sicker than before too. And just look at that. Actual HD animation. You love to see it. Alright, and now to show you what the stride animation looks like. So at the start of the right phase, you basically get to choose which stride you want to go into. For the memes, we can do Mystery Flare, because the kids love Mystery Flare, you know. Everyone around the world just gathers around Mystery Flare. It's always a funny time. So you discard a grade 3 from your hand, or cards that equal grade 3. And there is the stride animation. So it looks fantastic. Alright, so here's a quick showcase of the Alt Mile animation. Also super beautiful. Very nice.